Hello, good evening. Welcome back to the Tunnel Podcast as we look through another fantastic week in the Championship. Loads and loads of talking points and plenty to chew through. Delighted to say, as always, I'm joined by Tom Goff. Tom, how are we doing?
Right, mate, I'm all right. Thanks, bud. I've just had a curry and a lemsip combo, mate. So I'm feeling pucker. I'm feeling good.
You're the old sinuses.
That's it. I went for a madras as well, mate, just to just see if I can kind of kickstart something in here and a bit of heat, a bit of spice. So we'll see.
As we say, plenty of talking points. Most importantly, sort of arriving around managerial appointments. We'll speak about Oxford and Millwall in due course. We've got to start with your own Carlos Corberán, heavily linked again today with Southampton. He's been pressed this afternoon, saying, for me, it's disrespectful for this great club and their amazing fans to be talking about something that is not related to West Bromwich Albion. He wasn't quite forthcoming when he was pressed about Wolves the other week, but maybe he's learnt his lessons. What's your takeaway from all this at the moment?
Well, mate, you're absolutely spot on, because I think what's happened there is someone's had a little word in his ear, because he didn't do anything wrong when he got questioned about the Wolves job. I just think he didn't distance himself enough from it. And like I said to you last time round, I think it was, there's a bit of lost. Sometimes it's all a bit lost in translation sometimes with Corberán. His English is getting better and better. But still, I think the Albion fans were just upset that, them being our, big rivals and whatnot, that he didn't distance himself a bit more from it. And I think someone maybe just had a little word, give him a bit of advice. And I think, he's clearly learned his lesson, because I think he's done a lot better this time round in terms of, quashing the questions about the Southampton job. So, look, it's one of those, mate. Like, he's come out, he said the right things, but we all know in football how quickly things can change, don't we? And we had a chat early on in the week, didn't we? We were on a different pod about how did I feel potentially Corberán could be tempted by a move to Southampton, and I do, mate. Yeah, I really do. I am genuinely concerned, because I think he could get tempted by. There's a lot of Albion fans out there who seem to think, the fact that they're kind of rooted to the bottom of the Premier League, and they are, say, cut adrift. There is a bit of a gap there, but there's still plenty of games obviously to go. They seem to think that they're banking on that. Is the reason why he's going to turn it down. But I do think they're being a little bit naive. I think Southampton, obviously, they're sat in the Premier League at this moment in time. Best league in the world. Half a season still to go. They've got a better squad of players than us. They're financially in a much more stable situation than ourselves. And, even if he was to go there and come down, at the end of this season, he's then going to be in a much better position, in the Championship next season. He's going to have a fantastic squad available to him for a Championship level. And he's going to have better backing to try and get back up at the first time of asking. So, I've been a little bit kind of stumped at how many Albion fans out there seem to think it's going to be a non-starter for him. He isn't going to be tempted, because I'm the opposite. I think he's going to be really tempted, and genuinely worried that we could lose our manager.
You look at the Sky Bet, odds, and listen, they mean absolutely nothing until it's a done deal. But Danny Rowe, who sort of, he was the first name sort of thrown towards the job, he's drifted out to 7s. You've got Graham Potter at 8s, Davy Moyes 11-4, and then Corberán obviously is the favourite at 9-4. The guys like Moyes and Potter, are they really going to take this post at the minute? They, as you say, they're pretty much all but in the Championship next season. Southampton, barring a miracle. Those two maybe wouldn't touch that at this point. So then it is going to be a Corberán or someone from, on the continent. But as you say, you could be heavily tempted.
Yeah, 100%, mate. You're spot on. I think Potter's holding out for something a bit more appealing. I think a team that's in
Chelsea to Southampton, and you don't go from winning a European trophy to Southampton.
Yeah, I think he's holding out for something a bit. Yeah, definitely more appealing. A team that's in a better situation than Southampton, most definitely. And I think same goes for Moyes. I think he was wrongly sacked at West Ham last season, and I think he's probably had a bit of a break which he wanted. Recharge the batteries, etc. But again, I think he's probably deserving of a better gig. To come back into management. So Southampton are going to if their owners have got any sense, they're going to be having one eye potentially on very likely playing in the Championship again next season. So I can understand why they're looking at the likes of Danny Rowett, Corberan. I think John Eustace's name has been mentioned a little bit. These guys who are doing well in the Championship currently, and I just think the reason that Corberan's a better option than Rowett is, I just think purely financially. I know that Rowett obviously signed a new deal at the start of the season, and I think his buyout clause is considerably more than Corberan's. And he's got a lot longer on his contract, so it's going to cost them a lot more to get Rowett out of Sheffield Wednesday than it is Carlos Corberan from ourselves. And I also think, what they need at this moment in time, Southampton, is someone to come in who's, very good defensively, gets teams well organised, gets players, understanding their role and executing it on match day, working hard on the training pitch. And I think Corberan, he ticks a lot of those boxes. So, I think, it pains me to say, but I think there's a very good chance he could get tempted. I think, the other option is, like you touched on, them bringing someone in from the continent, just out the blue. I know the Danish chap's been linked, hasn't he? He was the manager for the Danish national team for a while. I was looking yesterday, and he's been linked. But everything just points towards them going for someone like Corberan, and that's the thing that worried me the most, because I just think it would be the most sensible decision for the Southampton board to make. And obviously being a West Brom fan, how highly I regard him. The vast majority of Albion fans regard him. We're all kind of in acceptance that he will be managing in the Premier League at some point. His trajectory is only going to kind of keep going in an upward direction. So we'll see. I'm just kind of refreshing the sports pages and social media kind of on the regular, anxiously waiting for the a little corner flag picture, official statement, something along those lines, So.
Well, Airwolf saying there that Russell Martin was more about brand Russell than the benefit of the team. That wouldn't be the case with Carlos Corberan. Quite different. He's not one for shoving himself in the limelight. He's all about the team and obviously making the team better, making individuals better as well. I wanted to sort of go into a little bit of a deep dive here, actually, while we're talking about West Brom, because I've heard a lot of interesting stuff today. We're about, a fortnight away from the window reopening, whether that's going to be Carlos in charge or someone else is doing. But you listen to Corberan speaking, I don't know if it was earlier on today, about how sort of tight they had to work in the summer to get 30% of the wage budget down. They wheeled and dealed almost to get players in. Looks to me like wheeling and dealing is starting again for January. I've heard rumours that Dobbins' loan's going to be cut short, Rakic's loan's going to be cut short. Also, now I'm not saying that's a sway on maybe how they've played, but it may be a way of getting other players in by freeing up maybe a wage or a spot on the side. So you've obviously had this as well. You're over West Brom day to day. What do you think is going to play out in the transfer window? What do you think you actually need to push on? Because the teams around you are not messing about. They're winning as well at the minute.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Look, and look, this what we're about to talk about now ties into another reason as to why I think he could be very tempted by an offer from Southampton, is because of what you've just said there. Our financial restrictions at the moment, this moment in time, you know, they're kind of almost tying one hand behind Corberan's back. Yeah, it's a horrible situation because our new owners have come in and they are willing. They do want to spend some money. They do want to back Corberan, but because of the mess our previous owner got us in and the amount of debt, you know, we've accrued over the last few years, well, more than that since he was in charge. You know, we've got to balance the books, you know, and we've got to kind of reduce the debt, you know, and you know, limit those losses every season. So, you know, there's money there to be spent, but we've got you know, he's got to sort the club out financially first. So, you know, like you said, I saw the interview you're discussing where he was saying that they had to cut the playing staff by, you know, the wage bill by 30% in the summer, and you know, going into January, it's going to be more of the same because, you know, we're not going to be able to. There's no way we're going to be able to add to the squad on top of what's already there. Players are going to have to either, you know, move on, be sold, or, you know, some of those loans cut short in order for him to do, you know, some business. And yeah, I've kind of last few videos I've done on my page, you know, I've said that I do very strongly feel that, you know, if we are to get in the playoffs this season, then we're going to need a couple, you know, at least two, I feel, strong additions in January in order to challenge for a spot. Because like you said, I just feel, you know, there's you know, the vast majority of teams above us now have not only got, you know, financial, you know, some financial backing. You know, I know that varies between the teams above us, but, you know, I think they're probably all, maybe bar Blackburn, in a better position financially than us. You know, and you know, the vast majority of them have probably got much better squads than us at this moment in time as well. So it's a challenge for him, mate. It's a challenge, and again, you know, this is just credit to the guy. You know, like I said, he's you know what he's achieved with the club, considering, you know, the limitations he's had on him. It's absolutely fantastic, and you know, it's another reason why I think probably Southampton are looking at him thinking, well, if he's done this with absolutely no money whatsoever, you know, and having to kind of really beg and borrow and, you know, kind of you know, scrimp and save, etc. You know, what could this guy do with a bit of money, you know, a bit of decent backing and a better bunch of players?
You know, I mentioned the two players whose loan deals may be cut short.
Yeah.
That may be an aid to try and get a bit of a backup striker in, because Daryl Dike's return has been sort of pushed back again. You know, they kind of thought he may be coming back and try to help take the load off Josh Maja. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case. You've said to me repeatedly this week, you know, that a playmaker may be something that you think you don't have that other clubs do have. I mean, I'm looking there. We shared the graphic earlier on about the top playmakers in the Championship. Do you know who your top chances created has come from this season?
If I was to have a guess, it's I'd probably say Tom Fellows.
It's Alex Mowat.
Yeah.
Fellows is second. Mowat's created 32 chances. Now, that's not far off, you know, Ben Doak, who's created 34, which isn't too bad.
But this is exactly the point I was going to make. And these are the two signings that we need, because Josh Meyer and Alex Mowat they're just so important that whenever, you know, they don't play, we're just a complete shadow of a team. And, you know, what's happened to Meyer in the last few games is that, you know, he's really gone off the boil. And I think it's more down to burnout than anything, because we've just had no one, you know. Corberan obviously doesn't rate Devante Cole, who we bought in on a free. You know, that was a real kind of chance signing, you know, in the hope that maybe he was going to be a bit of a gem, but it's not worked out. So it's all just fell on the shoulders of Meyer, but you know, I think it's really caught up with him in the last few games. So he needs, you know, someone to not only kind of take the burden off him, you know, a bit, but, you know, actually kind of you know, compete with him as well, you know, kind of keep him on his toes and challenge for that starting striker spot. And then the other one is like you just said there, Alex Mowat. He's just kind of, you know, a lot of what he does kind of does go under the radar a bit, but when he doesn't play is when you realise how vital he is to the team. We just have no kind of creativity in midfield. You know, we haven't got that link between defence and attack, and you know that's the two positions I personally feel. You know, we simply have to strengthen in January if we're to compete, because you know those two are struggling with the amount of games. You know, they can't kind of hit those optimum levels every time. They need someone to help out and compete with them as well. So yeah, it's definitely a bit nervy. You know, not like you said, not only because of the there's this chance that we're going to lose Corberan possibly to Southampton, but yeah, with January around the corner, it's going to be a challenge for us. But it's one that
I'm going to go on record as saying this could be the biggest January window in Championship history, because I just feel like everyone feels that they've got a chance to go up. You know, that top kind of 8, they're all thinking we've got a shot at this. Even as you say, down to Sheffield Wednesday, who probably think in the back of Danny Rose's mind, he's thinking I want to try and get into that top 6. So January could be huge in the Championship this season.
It is going to be massive, because as well I feel like we just talked about, we need a striker. I think there's a few other teams in there as well who need a striker. We're all going to be kind of, looking at the same players. A lot of these, especially in the January transfer window. You're looking. A lot of these teams are looking at the loan market. The Premier League teams who have kind of said, this guy haven't been getting as much football as we maybe wanted them to get. They put them out there, put them available, to go out to a team like ourselves or someone else. So we're all going to be just like battling it out for, the same players in the same pot. So yeah, it's, it sounds a bit obvious, but I think, come the end of January, when that window slams shut and you've kind of seen what business everyone's done, I think that'll be a big indicator as to who's then going to kind of push on from there and get the job done, or who's going to potentially struggle. Zach, hold on, mate.
Santa's come early.
Zach's, hold on, just slip past. You're going to laugh now. This is one I forgot about.
So did you want to jump in? Does he know much about Oxford? We could use him on the next segment.
Yeah. He's not much of a football fan, mate, unfortunately.
All right, okay. Listen, so yeah, we'll part West Brom next, but I will come back to you with a question that I've got for you actually. But we'll do that when we start speaking about these next two managerial appointments. So Gary Rowett all but confirmed as the next manager at Oxford United. Loads of steam gathering today. It looks like that one could be pretty imminent. He'd take over from Des Buckingham, who obviously was sacked last weekend. We said rather harshly actually sacked because of how well he'd done at the club and how far he brought them. However, the chairman's obviously got aspirations of staying in the Championship and keeping the finances that the Championship brings. And Gary Rowett's certainly got Championship experience. Yeah,
I was doing a bit of little bit of, I don't know what you call it, research, but it seems the vast majority of Oxford fans aren't happy with the sacking because of one, obviously him being he's a local, isn't he? He's an Oxford lad, and he's got his kind of boyhood team into the Championship. And like I think we touched on last time we had a chat.
Never work with animals and children. That's what they say on a live show.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, I was just saying that. He basically kind of overachieved last season in getting them out of League One. I think we were saying last time we spoke about them that they probably weren't the third best team in League One last season. And he kind of shocked everyone by getting them up through the playoffs. So he did a fantastic job last season getting them up. But then this season as well, we were both saying, weren't we, that what's Oxford's aim this season? Is to stay in the division. It can't be anything more than that. And at this moment in time, I know they've gone on a bit of a poor run, but they're still sat outside the relegation zone. They're in the mix. One win could potentially take them up to 17th. 2 wins and they're kind of looking at mid-table. So, that's how quickly things could have changed for him. I think they've obviously looked at the poor run they're on and thought, we've got to try and put a stop to this now. And I think like we've been discussing, January transfer window around the corner. Maybe their thinking is, well, if we get the manager in just before January, they get a few training sessions in, they assess the squad. Maybe we can bring in a couple of guys for him to try and strengthen the team and help that that relegation fight. So it's one of them. I can see both sides, both sides of the argument. But then, I think we were both saying that. I think Rowett's probably a bit of a shrewd appointment, to be fair, because we were. I don't want to say we were being a bit harsh, but we were kind of thinking, well, who could Oxford really kind of tempt that was out there who has the experience that they're looking for, which is plenty of championship experience, and someone who's been in this situation, got teams out of a relegation scrap and steered them to safety. And we were kind of scratching our head a little bit at the time, weren't we? But then it came clear that Rowett was the clear favourite they were in talks with, and I think it's quite a good decision. To be fair, I think he's got vast experience, in the championship, both ends of the table. He's got teams out of a relegation fight and kept them up, but he's also got teams into the playoffs, and he's kind of been managing teams who are in the top half of the table as well. So he's wealth of experience at this level. And I think that's exactly what they need. If they were to have gone for someone from maybe one of the top managers from League One, then I just think it's just like for like, isn't it? I don't understand why they didn't just keep bringing. But I think the decision that they made and then following it up with the appointment of Rowett, I can kind of see the logic there, and I think it's a good move by him.
Yeah, listen, I would have to agree. I think it gives him a fighting chance, certainly. I had a wee look at his kind of back catalogue of work. It's a bit indifferent,
Yeah.
Spell at Stoke didn't go so well, but I would say Millwall was okay. He spent kind of 4 years there and done not too bad. I know he's got the relegation of Birmingham on his CV, but that was kind of an interim post because obviously what had happened to Tony Mowbray took on well, and he kind of stepped into the breach there. But it was too little, too late. But you look at his points per game for Millwall. I think he was accumulating 1.45 points per game, which isn't too bad. If he can get in and get them on the grass, and I think he'll make them, as Errol was saying there, they'll be hard to beat, definitely. And it's what he can pick up, as we said, as important as January is going to be to the top clubs, it's also going to be important for the guys down the bottom as well. So, that back end of the season for the guys down the bottom, as you well know, is about getting a bit of momentum. If you can get a few results together, and I think they'll be okay. Yeah,
I know what you said there, but I know, like you said, he took Birmingham down in his last stint, but he was Blues manager. Going quite back a bit now, where he had a successful stint at Blues. And he was really unlucky with Millwall. I think they missed out on the playoffs on the final day when he was in charge at Millwall. So he took them right to the very brink of the playoff spot. Again on limited budget with don't want to sound harsh, but an average squad really in terms of championship standards. So I think it's probably one of the best appointments they could have made. Considering who was out there available, the situation they find themselves in, the size of the club. I think it ticks a lot of boxes. So I haven't really seen kind of the feedback from the Oxford fans yet as to whether they're happy with the appointment or not. I don't know if you have. Like I said, I've just kind of seen.
You've got to be. If you're an Oxford fan, you've got to be, because as you say, who are they going to really pull? A Robbins, a Schumacher kind of feels like they'd maybe want someone a little bit higher up the table. We're going to get onto them in a minute. So I think credit to the chairman in terms of, if they can get Gary Rowett over the line, I think it's probably the best they could have got in terms of what they need is experience and someone that knows the division, as you say.
Baptism of fire as well. He's got Leeds away on Saturday.
He'll probably announce him on Monday. Keep himself safe for that one.
Just hide in the stands somewhere and watch the potential onslaught. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let's quickly move on to Millwall as well, because Mark Robins is distancing himself from the job today. Apparently he was approached and he wants to take a bit of time out after what had gone on at Coventry. Stephen Schumacher's name won't go away for that one. That might actually be a decent fit as well.
I was doing it just kind of having a little read of a few pages before we went on, and I think I called it with you, didn't I? After I think the Robins and how it played out with Coventry and how long he was there, etc. I fancied him having a bit of time out, and it seems like that's the case, doesn't it? That they've approached him. I think they were really keen for him to come in. He was their number one target from what I've read, but he's just said that he wants a bit of time out, reassess things, kind of recharge the batteries and so on. So it looks like they're having to kind of look elsewhere. I was reading today as well, Alex Neil, who former Stoke, Sunderland, Preston manager. He's been interviewed already, I think, and impressed. Out the names that have been linked, I think I've said it in the past. I quite rate Schumacher. I know it didn't work out at Stoke, but I think the Stoke job's a bit of a kind of poison chalice, in all honesty. I don't think he was kind of given enough time there. I think there was signs of improvement, maybe not as fast as the owners were wanting, but I think they should have given him some more time there, and I think he could have done a good job. But I if I was a Millwall fan personally, I'd much rather Schumacher than Alex Neil. Alex, it's quite funny. He's quite similar to Rowett, I guess. He hasn't. He's obviously he's a bit younger than Rowett, but got quite an indifferent record in the Championship. He obviously started off really well. Got Norwich. Came down from Scotland, wasn't it? Who was he manager of in Scotland?
He wasn't. He was at Hamilton.
Hamilton, that was it. I remember him coming to Norwich from Hamilton, and he went. He had a flyer. He got them into the Premier League, so he had a fantastic start.
His stock just went up straight away, didn't it? He couldn't have had it any better, really.
Yeah. They had a good squad at the time. There was a lot of things going for him, but he still did incredibly well. But since then it's been a bit hit and miss. He did okay at Preston, and then he's not done very well at Sunderland and Stoke in his last few jobs. So I think Schumacher's a bit more of an appealing appointment for Millwall, because I think he plays a better brand of football. He's I don't think age is one of these things, isn't it? I think it's become this thing in football, hasn't it? The younger the manager is, the better they seem to be, which I personally think is a load of nonsense. But I think maybe there'll be some Millwall fans out there like, he's younger, so he's the better option. But I just think he's a more exciting. Should we put it this way? I think he's a more exciting appointment than Alex Neil. I think Alex Neil's more of a safe bet, given Millwall, the type of football people expect of them, etc. I think if they've got kind of ambitions of maybe progressing a bit as a club, playing maybe a bit of a better brand of football, I think Schumacher would be the better appointment there. Other than that, I don't know. I think the other chap who was up there high on the odds was the chap from Wickham. Blingfield, I think his name is. He's having a good season with Wickham in League One. He's up there with Birmingham and Wrexham. So I don't know. Again, I think Schumacher's out the names that are linked. Those guys who got the best odds. I think Schumacher's the best name out of them for me.
Just finally on the managerial chat before we move on to the weekend's fixtures, you haven't kind of said anything about who you might like if Carlos does go, and I kind of wanted to put you on the spot a little bit, because we spoke about Mark Robins not being tempted out. I think if he's been in the Midlands and he's probably got a house in the Midlands, then Westbourne might not be a bad shout for Mark Robins. Is that someone you'd take at the club, or are you looking, again, like you just said there, a younger manager, more innovative? What's your thoughts?
I'd take Robbins, mate. I personally would definitely take Robbins. Really impressed with what he did at Coventry, and my former boss where I work was a big Coventry fan, and we used to talk a lot of football, and he just he couldn't speak any higher of him. He just was always waxing lyrical about him, and I think he's one of those as well who had that good balance of kind of attacking football, going forward and trying to score goals, but also realizing there's work to be done at the back as well. I thought there was a good balance to his teams, which in the Championship I think is really important. So I wouldn't mind Robbins. It was funny. Last night I did a chat on my page, and I was going to ask the same question, but then I kind of backed out from asking it because I didn't want to tempt fate, and I was touching wood, saying, we'll talk about it if it happens. If it happens, we'll then talk about it. Let's not talk about it. But you put me on the spot. Look, I tell you another one because I wrote a few down. Funnily enough, Lee Carsley was one I wrote down. I think that'd be quite.
Hold on a minute. You absolutely slaughtered this guy on podcasts gone by.
No,
you want to be a club. Explain yourself.
I was warming to Carsley. You know that I was warming to him. I did hold my at the end. Come the end of his stint in charge of England, I did hold my hands up and say, I was a little bit hasty in my criticism at the start. But look, I'm still kind of of the opinion that the England job would have been too big a step for him. But I do think that I think it'd be an interesting appointment for a team in the Championship. For him having worked, he's obviously worked with a high caliber of players. Even in the under-21s, they're all Premier League players pretty much, aren't they? So, I'm trying to think of some of the other names. It's difficult, man. I don't like talking about it. I don't want to lose it, man. Like, this is, it's been a long time since I've genuinely, I think, football these days, managers come and go, don't they? And I think it's quite rare for fans to get too attached to managers, But I think I probably speak on on behalf of the vast majority of Albion fans in that we'd be absolutely devastated if he was to go, So I'm just kind of hoping and praying it doesn't happen, mate. In Southampton, take that business elsewhere.
We might get a breaking news pod out of you come the weekend. Okay, let's move quickly on to the weekend's fixtures. We're going to finish up on some opinion stuff at the end because it's near the end or your halfway point of the season. We're going to give out some kind of awards, if you will. We'll deal with that in a couple of minutes. So, yeah, the weekend's fixtures. I think only one place to start for me, and that's Tough Moor, Burnley v Watford. That seems like the pick of the bunch with a lot riding on it. We spoke on Monday about maybe not giving Burnley the respect they need or deserve, should we say. They're now kind of breathing down the backs of Leeds United, who you think would take all three against Oxford as well. But that's a real test for both sides.
Yeah, there's a crack about it, mate. It's a shame it's not on the TV because I think that is. I think you're right. I think it's probably the pick of the fixtures, isn't it, over the weekend? And like you said, it's going to be a real kind of test of character for both teams. Like you said, Burnley, they're breathing down the necks of those guys above them, and I think they'll be looking to try and make a statement. Get the win against the Watford team, who I've been really impressed with this season. Tom Cleverley's doing an unbelievable job, and the more I see of them, the more I think that they are, a playoff team. They're ready. They're a team who can definitely nail down one of those, those 4 playoff spots. So, that could be a real cracker. That could, and it's kind of a bit of a contrast in styles as well, isn't it? Burnley have just been unbelievable in defence this season. That's kind of the foundation of where where they get their 3 points from. It's just keeping the opposition out. Whereas Watford really like to kind of take it to the opposition, try and score goals. Easy on the eye football. So really, really interested to see how that one plays out. And yeah, we've probably talked it up now. It'll be like a drab 0-0 or something.
But as you just said on there, with Leeds playing, Leeds hosting Oxford, Sheffield United away at Cardiff. Really, I would say it's pressure on Scott Parker to get all 3 points to try and keep within touching distance, because they've done so well to capitalise last weekend. We spoke about how poor they were in the first half against Norwich. And then they kind of turned it around. That equaliser will come up, and then he's going to spark the life. They're going to have to be on it from the off against Tom Cleverley's Watford come the weekend.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And even Sunderland, Sunderland, they've got Norwich at home. Sunderland are really strong at home, as we know, and Norwich are really poor travellers. So, I fancy Sheffield United, Leeds United, and Sunderland all getting 3 points at the weekend. So, yeah, that's but Burnley have got by far the trickiest game out of those teams that are, challenging for those automatic spots. So, it'll be interesting. Watford, mate. They, like I said, they've really impressed me. Obviously, they beat us in their last game, and the lad up front, what's his name? Bio. Yeah, he looks a real handful. It's obviously took him a little bit of time to kind of get going, but he's arguably one of the best strikers in the division, if not the informed striker in the division at this moment in time. So it's going to be a real test for Burnley's defence. So intrigued to see how that one plays out.
A few games down the bottom. Hull hosts Swansea. Frank Lampard heads down to Fratton Park. These games are almost in the balance. You couldn't pick a winner. It's almost in the flip of a coin, because there's. To be fair, Lampard seems to be getting a bit of a tune out of Coventry. You wouldn't doubt him to go down there and get 3 points. But then, Pompey have won it at home last weekend. They want to try and build on that as well. So it's interesting down the bottom as it is at the top.
Yeah, you're right. That's it. Well, that's it. It's like we said, we're halfway through the season now, aren't we? And there's something to, again, it's proper cliche stuff, but it's something to play for everyone, isn't there? Even the team's kind of lingering around mid-table. A couple of wins back to back, and you're kind of chasing a playoff spot again, aren't you? So it's a couple of tasty fixtures down there at the bottom. Obviously, the what's his name's just completely lost me. The guy they brought in from Reading for Hull.
Ruben Sellers.
Yeah, Sellers. Obviously, he's. So he said, there's some pressure on him, to try and get a result early doors, and Swansea City at home.
They've got to start winning home games, Tom. They've got to start winning home games.
That's it. That's what I was about to say. Swansea City at home is a game. All their fans will have been, looking at and thinking, this is a game we've got to get 3 points. If we're going to get ourselves out of trouble, we've got to be getting a win here. But as we know, Swansea City are, the most difficult team to predict, because. They've caused a few upsets. They've put in a few stonking performances, but then they've then lost the kind of teams down towards the bottom. You'd expect them to pick up points against. So, it's an interesting one. Like you said, Portsmouth Coventry, that could be a really interesting game to watch as well, because like you said, Portsmouth. Got that really good result against Bristol City recently. We've talked about how important it is for them to try and build, some good home form. How important, playing games at Fratton Park is for them. But then, like you said, Coventry have definitely turned a bit of a corner under Lampard. He deserves some praise, because I think the only game they haven't picked up something from was the game against us at Hawthorns, which they were unlucky in that game as well. So they've definitely turned a bit of a corner under Lampard. So couple of tasty looking games towards the bottom end as well, mate.
Okay, let's move on to a little opinion piece to finish. So obviously you task me every week, it seems, with something to finish these shows on. So you said, sort of, I don't know if it was best, but outstanding manager, outstanding club, outstanding player so far this season, and then biggest disappointment, which could be player or club or whatever, and then favourite goal of the season so far. So let's go one for one, and we'll start with the manager. Then, who's been your manager of the year so far?
I'm thinking what the odds of us both kind of having very similar answers here. For my manager, I've gone John Eustace. I personally don't think you can. There's most definitely some candidates, for best manager of the season so far. But I just think, in terms of where Rovers were last season when he came in, he kept them up right at the very end of the season. Lost their star man. Sammy Schmodix obviously went to Ipswich at the start of the season. Summer transfer window. What their fans' expectations probably were. I remember we obviously had that we had that Blackburn fan on early on in the season. We were trying to get him on tonight, weren't we? Unfortunately, we couldn't make it work. But he wasn't really sure what their expectations were. He was kind of thinking, if we can finish around mid-table, it's probably been a good season. So, for them to be sat fifth currently, they're only 5 points off Leeds in second. That's crazy, I think. And what have they won? Have they won their last 6, I think? They've won their last 6 or 7 games on the trot.
With a lot of clean sheets in there as well, Tom.
A lot of clean sheets, yeah. They're, incredibly good defensively, especially of late. He's done a brilliant job. So I'll pick Eustace.
I didn't want to pick Eustace because I didn't want to double up on something else later on. So I've gone for Regis Labrise. Now, the reason I've done that is because I sat on here at the start of the season kind of saying, I'm not sure about appointment. He's never been in English football. We don't know much about this guy. And, hats off to him. I think Sunderland have only been back in the Championship for 3 seasons now. This is the 3rd season. And they look like they're not going to fall away here. They're here to stay. So I think he deserves a massive amount of credit. You watch him as well. There's a nice blend in his squad. A lot of young players in there. He's not scared to stick him in. So I like his fullbacks. I think his fullbacks are really important that side as well. So and they've got a decent striker too. So I think he deserves an immense pat on the back. So I've gone for Labrise for the manager.
Well, I think I know what you're going to have done, mate, because let's see. So my team, that'll move nicely onto my team because my team is Sunderland.
Yeah.
So I was basically, mate, I was kind of just 50-50 between Labrise and Eustace for manager and Sunderland and Blackburn for my team. So I just I went with one and the other. Yeah, I made it just kind of ditto what you've just said there. As you well know, Sunderland have kind of kept picking up points, kept winning. They're still in touching distance. And I kept saying it ain't gonna last, but it is lasting, mate. And yeah, I think I have to hold my hands up and admit, I've got this one really wrong. I like you, I just thought it took him a hell of a long time to bring him in. There was a lot of stories doing rounds at the time that he wasn't even in their top 5. The guys they wanted to bring in, and he was right down the pecking order. But he's come in and like you said, he's just done an unbelievable job. And he's turned the Stadium of Light into a fortress. They've got a real kind of good blend of youth and experience. They're very good defensively, but they're nice to watch going forward as well. They've got a real good kind of press, don't they? They like to play the press and win the ball back quickly. And he's doing a great job. So I went with Sunderland as my team.
You think we spoke about Alex Neil before. Michael Beale, who they had previously. The next appointment was really important for Sunderland, and for not just for position in the table, but also for the fans to kind of buy in, and they seem to have ticked that box. So I think, good on them, good on him. We'll see where they end up, come May. Well, I've literally, as you say, we've just done swapsies because I've gone for Blackburn, obviously it's the club. As you say, we spoke again only a matter of days ago about John Eustace and how this ain't a fluke. This is by design. He's done it at Birmingham. He's doing it here. I think, we speak about Cobaran and we speak about Danny Rowett. John Eustace will be getting mentioned in the same breath for these jobs if this continues. If he gets Blackburn into the playoffs and they miss out, I still think his stock will be really high, really high. I think the only thing they're missing at the moment, Blackburn, is just a little bit more backing at home. He would parts a big old stadium. I think he should maybe fill that a bit more. from every other week, then I think that would do them the world of good. But we look at the players they brought in the summer. They've hit the ground running as well. They'll need some players in January to kind of get them over the line, because I do think the clubs that you mentioned, Sunderland and Leeds United, Burnley will probably spend a bit as well, so they're going to have to keep their shoe in there. So, but yeah, Blackburn have been a breath of fresh air. I don't quite know how they're doing it, because they're huffing and puffing sometimes, but goalkeeper, outstanding out of nowhere. You talk about the striker, the Japanese striker, who doesn't bag a lot, but he works his absolute socks off. They've got a couple of neat midfielders over the Campbells coming as well. So, yeah, they've got a nice balanced side. So if they can keep ticking away these 1-0 wins to the end of the season, then they're going to be there or thereabouts for sure.
Yeah, well, they bought that Gay in as well, didn't they, up front? And
Matt Gay, and he's doing okay.
That was it. Again, it took him. Obviously, it takes time to adapt to the Championship, doesn't it? It's a tough old league, and if you've not played there before, it can kind of be a bit of a shock as to how intense it is. But he took a bit of time to get going. But in the last 2 or 3 matches, he's been chipping in with some goals, some assists. And it looks like he's turning out to be a decent signing as well. Picking up form at the best possible time. So, absolutely unbelievable job. And I think there was probably maybe some people out there who maybe thought Sunderland would be in and around the playoffs. They're a big club and they've got some exciting youngsters, but can't have been many saying Blackburn, if any. Do you know what I mean? So
I think most people, if any, would have been tipping Blackburn for maybe just being above the relegation zone and maybe 15, 14, 15, that kind of area of the table. So they've done really, really well. We'll see how they fare second half of the season as well. Who's your player then?
My player, mate, you probably could have guessed my player. I'm turning into a bit of a fanboy of his, and I think I probably got to calm down a little bit. But I'll go on Finn Azaz, man, Middlesbrough. I just like.
You love this kid.
I love him. It's bittersweet. It's so bittersweet because, as you well know, he's in a West Brom Academy product, and it's infuriating because I remember him being talked about in our academy. He had a few loan spells in the lower leagues, and he did really well. And he was one of them that Albion fans were kind of getting excited about. And I can't remember who it was, but whoever it was, obviously didn't rate him, didn't think he was going to be able to make the cut. And he went to Villa, who, they knew about him because of, they've had a few of our academy staff go over to theirs. So, and he went to Plymouth from Villa, got Plymouth up, did fantastically well at Plymouth on loan from Villa, and then Middlesbrough bought him, and he's, just gone on, from strength to strength. And, my favourite footballer, the footballers I like to watch the most are those kind of number 10s, those playmakers, who kind of pull the strings, but, plenty of assists, plenty of goals, can score from anywhere. And that's what he does. I just really enjoy watching him play. And, you kind of look at him, he's a bit kind of lanky and he looks a little bit awkward almost, but yeah, I think it's important for Borough to get out the Championship this season, because I genuinely believe, he'll have crazy numbers come the end of the season in terms of goals and assists. And I think if they haven't got promoted, then I definitely feel there'll be some Premier League clubs sniffing around him. So I've gone for Finn Azaz as best Championship player of the season so far.
We spoke about playmakers earlier. He was top of that list, 50 chances created so far this season. So, I think you do well to pick him. Like, you've went for fanboy for Finn Azaz. I'm fanboy for Michael Cooper. I just think he's been a great addition. And, you look at the goalkeepers that Sheffield United have had last couple of seasons, West Fotheringham, for instance, I think they needed that stability. He's come from a team fighting relegation to a team that's going to, I think, get their hands on the trophy come the end of the season. So big shift in mentality, but he stood up to that. A lot of we talk about goalkeepers every week on this show, because there's a lot of goalkeepers really stepping up. We spoke about players just there, but Michael Cooper for me is the benchmark in the division. Relatively kind of low fee. I think they've pinched him from Plymouth, truth be told. You speak about Finn as there. If Plymouth had kept Michael Cooper, Finn as, what would Rooney be working with now? But he's obviously sleepless nights about that. So, but no, on a serious note, I think this kid's, the sky's the limit for him. You talk about Finn as maybe going in somewhere. I think Sheffield United will be in the Premier League next season. I think we'll see Michael Cooper push on again. So for me, yeah, he's been kind of the one that's caught my eye the most.
Yeah, good shout, man. Yeah, I'm big fan as well. Yeah, he's been really impressive, and yeah, he's just like you said. I know what he's about 25 now, isn't he? So he's not, he's not a young lad, is he? But in goalkeeping years, he is still quite relatively young, isn't he? He's got a lot of playing days ahead of him, and yeah, you're right. Sheffield United are going up this season, and it'll be interesting to see him, facing that higher caliber of opposition, strikers and attackers coming at him, see what he can do in the Premier League. But yeah, I think a few seasons time, regardless of where Sheffield United are, whether they're still in the Premier League or not, I wouldn't be surprised to see him at a bigger club.
100%. Let's not finish on a negative. So let's do a disappointment now, and we'll finish on a goal as a bit of a high. So who or what is your biggest disappointment of the season?
I think we're probably. I'll be surprised if we aren't both. Again, it's going to be a bit boring for people watching, but I just couldn't look past Luton, man. I just can't. Are you on Luton?
I've got for Luton Town, yeah.
It's the right decision, mate. You just can't look past it. Like, look, I know at the start of the season I said that because there was. I think I don't like to talk about other championship podcasts on here, obviously, because this is the best one, and the one you need to watch. But there's a very popular second tier podcast out there.
We know the boys,
and
they're very good.
They had Luton to go up automatic at the start of the season. They were talking up Rob Edwards, talking up how well they did in the Premier League last season. They give it the best fight out of all the teams that had gone up that season. And they were expecting to have a positive season. I wasn't on that, on the same wavelength. I said to you, didn't I, early doors, I don't, I can't see him challenging automatics. But I tell you what, you still look at the players, that they've got available to them. They shouldn't be where they are. They shouldn't be where they are. They should be, at the very least, in and around kind of mid-table. They've still got some good players for this level. And look, I know they've had a bit of bad luck with injuries. Again, talking about playmakers, their standout player is Alfie Doherty, who plays out wide for him. He's missed a lot of games from this season through injury, but I think he was still in that graphic that you sent across. That he's still up there.
Or something like that.
Yeah, he's still up there, even though he's missed a hell of a lot of football of late for him. So that shows you how important he is. But even still, you look at especially the guys up front. I just look at the guys that they've got up front. Carlton Morris and Adebayo. And Jacob Brown even. He's a decent player.
How did he ever get a Scotland call-up? I will never know.
Yeah, I know, but at championship level, he's one of them. He can do a job at this level. Same with Chong as well. I really rate Chong. I think he's a good player. They've got some, especially in attack, they've got some really good players for this level. So for them to be languishing kind of down at the bottom, well and truly kind of embroiled in a relegation scrap. Yeah, it's really poor showing from them. And I'm surprised. I am surprised, to be honest. Something's not quite right there. And like we've discussed,
let me add to that now, because I'm going to go a little bit deeper, because I think that Edwards has been slightly let down in the sense that they've gone into the Premier League. They must have got pots and pots of money, but the biggest priority for Luton and the board and the club is this new ground. I don't know if you saw, they've had the planning permission, was it last week? And it seems like all the eggs are in that basket. And I think, they maybe should have been a bit more shrewd and said to Rob Edwards, look, well done for getting us up, but we want to get back up again. There's a little bit of money to go and strengthen, because they Victor Moses came in on a free, and there's a lot. it was almost like they'd never been in the Premier League. The sort of signings they were making, it just didn't really add up. So obviously, all the money's been ring fenced for this new stadium, and as you say, it's resulted in this position in the table.
Yeah, mate, you're absolutely spot on. It's a great point because you just got to look at Sheffield United. Look at the signings they made. They brought in some of the best players.
And one of the best players in the division. Kiefer Moore, who's proven at this level.
Cooper, you were just talking about. Burrows, the left back from Peterborough was probably the best player in League One the season before. And not only that, they've then brought in some exciting, loan signings. Raksaki from Crystal Palace, Gilchrist from Chelsea. They did everything that was needed of them to give Wilder the chance of getting back into the Premier League. Where you're right, Luton did completely opposite and basically said to Edwards, "Mate, you're shopping in the bargain bin." Like you said, Victor Moses, where the hell has he been for the last kind of 4 or 5 seasons? He's just been in the wilderness, hasn't he? And I saw today as well, they brought in
Eric Peters.
Eric Peters, who was with us. He was with us. He was a free. When we picked him up a couple of seasons ago, us West Brom fans were like, "Blimey, now we are proper bargain bin shopping here." And look, he did an okay job for us as a squad player. But like you said, Luton, the team who's just come down from the Premier League, shouldn't be, plucking up players like that. That's the kind of signings that maybe like an Oxford or a Plymouth or someone should be making, add to their kind of, squad depth, someone with some experience. So, yeah, you're spot on. The owners have got to take a big brunt of the responsibility. I think the point I was just trying to make was that, even with all that going on, still Edwards has got a team that's better than, than 19th, most definitely, hasn't he? I think in attack, that's where I've been, kind of most disappointed with Luton was because I thought, defensively, they don't look the best and they're probably going to have troubles at the back. But I still felt that their attackers were strong enough to at least have them in and around mid-table. Maybe even kind of on the outskirts of pushing for a playoff spot. So, yeah, I think that was a pretty easy decision to make on it, mate.
Yeah, listen, as I say, it just came to me when you said disappointment. I thought, I'm not going to go for a player, I'll go for a full club. So, and we both struck at the same time. So, easy peasy. Okay, then. Goal of the campaign so far. Now, listen, there's going to be a separate podcast for this for just, Borja Sainz's goal. We'll just talk about them for half an hour. But I've omitted him tonight because I do think someone has hit one a lot sweeter. I'm going to open this one up with Michael Smith for Sheff Wednesday down at Fratton Park. An unbelievable goal. He will never hit a ball better in all of his puff. It's an exquisite finish, and I'm sure one that's got to be in the conversation come the end of the season.
Yeah, man. The thing for me as well with that goal is if you watch the clip, he gets past the ball on the halfway line, he nips it round the corner, he gets wiped out, and then, like you said, the play continues. He just kind of trots along, and like
he's not even breaking a stride, is he?
It's just like it's almost like nonchalant, isn't it? How he just kind of wraps his foot round it, and it's just like top bins. He could, like you said, he could hit another 200 balls, same spot, put it in the same, put it top bins, and it ain't going to happen. You ain't going to hit it any sweeter than that. So, yeah, and I just think it's difficult, isn't it, when you take a pass from the side? You know what I mean? If you're taking a pass from the side to hit that first time.
Onto it. Yeah.
Moving on to it, first time, the power and the accuracy he got with it. That was absolutely cracking goal, man. And I think
it's more the point. It helped Sheff Wednesday at a time when they needed a result. A few weeks ago they needed to go on a bit of a run, and it did actually get them on a bit of a turnaround. So yeah, it's a massive goal for them.
Yeah, and I think as well he surprised himself a little bit because the celebrations afterwards, he didn't quite know what to do with himself. So but yeah, that was a good one, mate. I agree, that's an absolutely cracking goal. But I went for Mark Harris's goal against Blackburn quite early on in the season, I think it was.
Yeah, the sun was shining at Ewood Park that day.
The sun was shining. and Oxford were, riding the crest of the promotion wave at this point in time. They were causing a few surprises, and Harris was banging a few goals in. But this one was, again, I don't think he's probably gonna score a better goal than that in his career. I think it's a bit of a lump it's a bit of a lump from the goalie, isn't it? And the player kind of nods it back to him, and he just thinks, "Fuck it, I'm having it. Just, I'm having this first time on the volley, 30 yards out at the very least."
30 yards, yeah.
And just loops over the goalie.
Did he get a point that day?
Mate, I'm not sure, but I hope it got him something, because it'd be sickening, wouldn't it, if you score a goal like that and you don't get anything from the game? Like, it'd be very hard to take. But
they lost 2-1.
Did they?
They lost 2-1, yeah.
Those two goals, though, the kind of goals, as an opposition fan, you kind of stand up and you have to clap. You know what I mean? Like,
when I see goals like those, I just hear Andy Gray take a bow, son. Every time. They're the goals you go to the football to watch. Just absolute worldies.
Yeah.
So two stunning picks. Okay, listen, we'll leave that there because we've gone over the hour. And I dare say people will be trying to get in areas of the house. Certainly here they will anyway. It's getting to that close to bedtime and I'm sitting in a bedroom. So listen, delighted you could join me as always. We'll be back. Try and pick up. Whether we can squeeze one in Monday night, we'll see. It's the festive period, people are doing stuff, so we'll see if we can. Because there'll be loads and loads of stuff up. Boxing Day is crammed full of football. I don't know about you, mate, but it's my favourite day of the year. Just scranning stuff in the kitchen, couple of cold bottles, football on the telly. The poofies up close to the sofa, the slippers are on. Oh, it's magical, absolutely magical. So
we'll try and get one in for sure, mate. Because like you said, the football comes thick and fast, and like you've just, what we've just been talking about, I think there's going to be some managerial changes, aren't there? A bit of a merry-go-round in the next couple of weeks as well. So, we'll have to try and squeeze one in, definitely.
Listen, thanks for joining us. If you've been in, I've seen people dipping in and out. Leave us a little comment. Errol, thanks for your comments throughout the show as well. We'll see you on the other side. Cheers.